Hello everyone, welcome to Southern Wreaths. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this really fun school themed wreath. These are the supplies I used to make this wreath. So I went ahead and sprayed my letters. I ended up spraying one of them red because the yellow wasn't showing up very well. And then I went on my Cricut, and this is the sign that she wanted me to make her. And I cut it out, and then I'm just going to use it as a stencil. So I laid it across the chalkboard, and I'm just using white chalk paint to dab it on there. Because when you stencil, you kind of want to dab it just so you don't get it underneath the sides. But I'm just going to go through and dabble all that in. It's really easy and another great way to use your Cricut. If anyone's interested in following me on social media, you can find me on Instagram at Southern Wreaths More, on Facebook at Southern Wreaths, and I also have a Facebook group called Southern Wreaths and More. I would love to see any of the wreaths you've made, especially if you do any based on my videos. That would be amazing. I also have all of these links in the description below. You don't want your paint to dry completely before you remove the stencil because it might pull off some of the paint. So you just grab it in the corner, and I'm using a pokey tool to help lift up the pieces that don't want to come up that are inside the letters. You want to be very careful that you don't hit the actual word that you have painted because it's not completely dry. And you want to pull it at an angle, kind of like back on itself, but you definitely don't want to touch it because it's wet. So after you get that pulled off, you'll go through and pick out the center pieces of each of the letters. And again, be careful not to hit the actual word or letter. This is a great way to make your own signs, especially if you sell your wreaths, you can make custom signs. Alright, so for the actual wreath, I'm going to start by adding pipe cleaners to my wire frame. This is a 14-inch wire frame. I'm going to add a pipe cleaner at each crossbar on the center, and I cover 2 rings. And then after I've done the center, I'll move to the outside. I'm going to start at just a random crossbar, twisting 3 times. And then I'm going to lay the pipe cleaner along the frame, and where it ends is where I'm going to add my next pipe cleaner. And I'll do that going all the way around. I end up with 14 pipe cleaners. So I decided to use a white base, so I'm just using this iridescent white mesh. I'm just going to gather it together and attach it to my frame with a zip tie. I like to just tuck it in on the left side of a pipe cleaner. And I like to use zip ties because I feel they hold better than just the regular pipe cleaner. And now I'll just trim everything away. So I'm going to do poofs for the base. I'm just going to push everything over. I like to use my mat to measure. If I can get it to work right. Alright, I'm doing 12-inch poofs. And you can see I went over the original pipe cleaners that were to the left of my wreath. They kind of pushed over, but I'll shove it back over and it'll all work out in the end. So I'll go around the whole outside doing the 12-inch poofs. And then once I finish going around the outside, I pull the mesh to the closest inside pipe cleaner and just twist it once. And then I'm going to make my way around the center doing the same thing, the 12-inch poofs. And I like to go ahead and open all of my pipe cleaners. It just makes it easier as I'm going around. And you can always put something heavy on it if you feel like it keeps bumping up against the wreath because it'll stick, the mesh sticks to itself. Okay, so the last piece, I'm going to open the original first pipe cleaner and add this mesh to it, twisting once. So this is where I begin and where I'm ending. Now just trim it away, push it to the back, and then attach it with a zip tie, and then trim it away. Alright, this is what it looks like when it's done. This is a great base for a lot of different wreaths, and you can go through and make it look a little bit prettier than what that one looked like. I didn't fluff all of them completely. So I'm using primary colors to make it look very schoolhouse, and I'm cutting all of my mesh at 20 inches. This is actually 12-inch mesh, but you can't really tell when I finish the wreath. The rest of the mesh I use is 10 inches. But if that bothers you, you can always use the same size. This is just what I had. All right, I'm gonna do the ruffle method for these, and I'm gonna put certain colors together. So I'm gonna do the red and blue together and the yellow and green. And I just open my tie to add the mesh in. Now I'll show you a ruffle again. I like to put something heavy on it to keep it flat. And then I'm gonna open the tie again and add it in. And if you don't wanna keep opening the tie, you can always use your bow dabber to hold them and then add them together. You just wanna make sure you get it centered. And now I'm gonna twist pretty tight because I'm not gonna be opening that again. But I'm only twisting 1.5 times. Now I'm gonna show you one more time how I do the ruffles. And now I'm gonna do it with the green and the yellow. I thought this was the best way to line up the colors. And see here, I'm just holding on to the ruffle in one hand and ruffling with the other. You do not have to do that. It doesn't make as pretty of a ruffle. And I noticed that after I did it. And this is what it looks like after you've filled it up with all of the ruffles. If you have white spots, you can always move your mesh around. I'm not sure why it lines up that way, but these are the ribbons I'm gonna use. I'm gonna show you how I cut my ribbon. I like to use a 12-inch piece of cardboard, and I'm just gonna wrap the ribbon around it. I don't usually do more than 7 times. And I did 7 of each kind of ribbon because I'm gonna do 3 in each section. And then I just slide my scissors in and cut it at either end. And then after I do that, I'm gonna go through and dovetail everything. And to do that, I just gather a few pieces and fold them in half and then cut from the wire to the crease. And I'll go through and do that with all the ribbon after I cut it. And then I like to go through and stack the ribbon the way I'm going to put it on the wreath. I decided to keep the same colors together so it didn't look as messy because this wreath is already really busy. I'm just going to stack the ribbons the way I want them on the wreath, which it doesn't really make a difference because I spread them out. And then I fold it in half and crease it. And then once I open it, I use that crease to pinch it so I have the center. Then I kind of fluff out the ribbons so they lay right on the wreath. Then I decided which colors I wanted with which ruffles. And then I just add it on top of the pipe cleaner. And now I'm going to twist 3 times and then roll down with a glue stick. And this just makes it look nicer and gets the pipe cleaners out of the way. You can always tuck them to behind or cut them away if you want. Now I just spread it out the way I want it to look. You can either keep them down like that or you can X them. I always like the X method a little bit better. And normally when I'm doing these kinds of wreaths, I do an X for the 2 ribbons and then one of them I keep straight across. But you can do it any way that looks nice to you. Now I'm going to show you it again. I just lay it on top and then twist it. You can always open your pipe cleaners if you want to. I just don't find it necessary. It doesn't make that big of a difference in the way it looks. Just saves you a step. And I always like to start on the center and then do the outside because my hands will lay across it and mess up all of the ribbons on the outside. And you see I do the outside ribbons the same way as the inside. And then I just spread it out. So after my letters dried, I stapled some pipe cleaners to the back, and I'm just pushing those through the frame and attaching them. And then the cool thing about just putting one pipe cleaner is I can kind of move the letters around once I get the big sign on. And then after I twist them around, I'll go back through and twist the pipe cleaners around the back so they don't stick out. Just makes it look nicer and it won't scratch anyone's door. So I couldn't staple this sign, so I'm going to use E6000 and Gorilla Glue hot glue. And I just put a stripe of each on each side of the E6000 and then add the hot glue to my pipe cleaner and just stick it right on top. I do let this dry for a long time. This particular one I let dry overnight. because it will pop off. But once I was done, I threaded it through the back just like the letters and attached it, and that's it. That's how it looks. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, or you can always email me at craftingwithlee@yahoo.com. Thanks so much for watching, and if y'all learned anything today or liked my video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.